Let's talk about how to Lent with intent. Lent has a feel to it, doesn't it? I don't know if you've been in this for any length of time, maybe at a Catholic school, or you've been raised in some kind of Lent tradition. It's got this feeling. There's almost a feeling of like there's something big coming up. It's maybe a bit heavy, feels a little bit maybe sadder. I always got a feeling of like a gray tone to the day. That's because we explore some really deep themes in these next 40 some odd days. Themes like sacrifice, like death, right? The end of Lent, the death of Jesus. So it's got a more somber feel, not like that Christmas festive feel. Lights are coming on, bells are ringing. This is a different animal altogether. Lent is the one season of the church year that's more about you than it actually is about Jesus. You see, Lent is this season of the church year that is actually less about Jesus and more about you. See, Christmas is God's relationship with the world and Jesus coming in to the beginning of that relationship. Lent is your relationship with God as we come to the end of Jesus' earthly relationship with us. And so this time is really about you and me individually and our relationship to the life, death, and then eventually the resurrection of Jesus. How do we relate to that as human beings? How do we respond to the God who sent the man to die for us and rise again? You've probably heard, maybe in religion class or your parish priest or your parents, they've probably asked that question, like, what are you doing for Lent? Maybe something like, what are you giving up for Lent? That was what it was for us as kids growing up. A lot of times, especially when we were real little, it was just giving up candy, giving up chocolate, right? And so you'd have those 40 days where you're fasting from something like chocolate and candy. And then, boom, Easter morning, big Easter basket full of candy, chocolate, the big Easter morning sugar rush. You want to talk about a resurrection? There's nothing like a sugar resurrection. It's a good question. What are you giving up for Lent? What are you doing for Lent? But how about this? What isn't Lent for? What's Lent not about? Well, first of all, Lent is not a time to renew your New Year's resolution. It's only a month and a half ago that some of us were setting New Year's resolutions, and then by like January 10th, they were out the window. So now Ash Wednesday comes and you start thinking, what am I going to do for Lent? And you're like, I know, I was going to get more organized in 2024. And so you pick that up for your Lenten project. It's not the time to renew your New Year's resolution. This isn't a personal development holiday. This is a controversial one. Lent is also not the time to give up things that are bad for you. Lent is not the time to stop sinning, to stop doing the things that are keeping you from your relationship with God or that are harming your relationship with other people. Lent's not the time to stop that. You know why? Because you should be stopping that as soon as you realize you're doing it. We shouldn't wait for Ash Wednesday to roll around to say, hey, I better cut out this bad habit or this vice or this personality flaw. But on the other hand, Lent is the perfect time to do that. If that's where you are, and Lent is the thing that's inspiring and moving you to leave those behaviors behind, it's a great time to do that. It's literally the season of turning around. Lent's the time to do a 180, to turn ourselves around, face back towards God, to make those changes that are going to lead us back into right relationship with God and others. So when we talk about giving up something for Lent or doing something extra for Lent, here's how I want you to think about it. 2 ways. Lent, number one, Lent is exchanging something good for something better. So when we think about giving up something for Lent, it might not be a bad thing that we're giving up. Coffee's not a bad thing. Vanilla lattes are not an evil of the world. They're good, but we're giving those up in exchange for something better. If we're giving up time doing something, maybe we're giving up time just doom scrolling on our phone. The point would be, it's not that that is necessarily a bad activity, that we would be giving up something good for something better in that time. So we would take that good thing. We'd say, you know what, I enjoy this, but I'm going to free up that time to do something better, or to allow time for God to do something better in my life. So Lent is a time to give up something good for something better that God might have to offer. You can do all the good things, like you can give extra money during Lent, you can go to church, make sure you're going every Sunday, you can go extra times, you can double down on the prayers that you're saying, you can double down on the amount of time you're spending in the Word. And those are all good things. Those are all good things. But when you say, God, I want to give you good things for something better, it changes the results. We become aware of how God wants to interact with us during Lent. So we're not just checking boxes, but we're actually building relationship. And second, Lent is something hard for you to make something easier for someone else. So this might fall more into the category of doing something extra for Lent, something that it would be outside of your comfort zone, something hard for you to make the life and the walk of somebody else easier. Maybe it's visiting with seniors in a senior's home, taking an hour every week during Lent to go and visit. Maybe it's spending some time handing out meals downtown. Some time where it would be challenging for you to enter into the world of somebody else so that you can make their world a little less challenging for them. Through your whole life, God is wanting to just lead you from point A to point B, and then God wants to lead you from point B to point C, and all the way along your life. The point is that you grow in character and closer to the person God intended you to be, and you grow in greater, closer, more intimate relationship with God. And so when you do something hard to make something easier for someone else, that hard thing that you do grows you into more and more of the person that God intended you to be. Hey, it's kind of like this. I love using kettlebells for my workouts. Fantastic. But it doesn't matter how many times I press that kettlebell over my head. Okay, just talking to my massage therapist this morning, it's not going to do anything for the stiffness that I feel in my backside. The only thing that's going to touch that is stretching. You see, sometimes we gotta stretch to get to new places in who we are and our character and our understanding of who God is in our lives. So, something good for something better, something hard for you to make something easier for someone else. That, my friends, is Lent with intent. So, leave me a comment. What are you going to do, or what are you not going to do this year for Lent? Looking forward to hearing your stories. See you guys next week.